Welcome learners. In this session, I'm going to explain to you how session maintenance could be done in mobile application. Let's say you log in into the app. After that, you don't see the login page anymore unless you have not used the app for quite a long time. How does the app remember what you have or when you have logged in? Things that we are going to have into session maintenance, we are going to consider using shared preferences plugin. In fact, this is one single plugin you'll see that's way much more popular than any other database plugin into your Flutter, that is PubDev. Perhaps this plugin will be a lifesaver because you can understand how quickly we can do session maintenance by running through the code. So let's dive into the session wherein we are going to understand shared preferences from the scratch. Let me lay down the blueprint for our session wherein we are not going to annoy our users by showing the app intro screens again and again. So imagine wherein we have our app. This is a splash screen. Now let me club this into one single group, and so over here we are going to have is app intro screen displayed. So let's imagine that if a user has already seen the app intro screens, then over here what we'll do, straight away take him to the home screen. Let me put this as display task screen. I'll put this as yes. For example, if the app intro is already displayed, yes, then he goes into the display task screen. In an event where the user is going to be installing the app for the first time, then he should be first seeing the app intro screen, and once that is complete, then he should be directed to this particular screen. Now, entirely understand the flow. Splash screen. If the user has already seen the intros, straight away go to the display task screen. If the user is installing the app for the very first time, in that case, first he sees the app intro screens, followed by directing him to the display task screen. In order to remember that a user has already seen this intro screens, we need a plugin called as shared preferences. In fact, if you're coming from an Android background, it's going to be hard that you have never heard of shared preferences. However, just do not bother that if you don't have an Android background, what would be the case, because I'm going to take this plugin from the very beginning. What I have already done, added this into the pubsec YAML file. Now what I'm going to try and do is go on to the splash screen and make this as a stateful widget. Now the blueprint of the app says that the splash screen is surely going to be there. Hence, what I'm going to do is inside the init state, I'm going to keep a check of what should be the next screen. So basically, here is my future function, and like you notice, this is automatically going to the app introduction screen. Now, did you remember that I basically have to keep a timer, and that timer is supposed to get delayed by 3 seconds? That's because once only the timer expires, then I will be navigating to the new screen. Hence, what I'll try and do is over here, I will be having, let's say, one await as future dot delayed, wherein I can see that I want to have a 3 seconds duration, and once that duration is elapsed, then I will be navigating to this particular screen. In this way, what we are trying to do is display this flash screen for 3 seconds and then navigate to the next screen. Let me try running the app and checking if this thing works or not. 1, 2, 3. Oh, and I did a blunder here by not calling the function. And this time, after 3 seconds, yes, it has managed to go into the app introduction screen. Now, once we are here, let's go down to the documentation, wherein we want to set the boolean value to be true. So I'll take again this shared preferences instance, and irrespective whether the user will be clicking on skip, that is over here, what I'll try and do is make this as async and import the library and set the boolean variable to true. This time the key we have already made it, and it is there in the app constants. So I'll copy this and paste it even when someone is going to press the done button. Let me make this as async. Now when I try to run the app and head over here, so after 3 seconds we go into this. Once we click on skip, it goes to the display task screen, and next time when I try to do a hot restart, this time surely it should be straight away taking me to display task screen. And yes, my logic perfectly works. What next I'm going to try and do is remove the hard coding for this 3 seconds and in fact use it again over here. So let me keep k splash timer, but this time an integer variable. I'm keeping it as 1 because right now we are into development and I don't want to spend any time in wasting by seeing the splash screen again and again. I'll copy this app constants dot k splash timer and in fact try to put this in a const. Now when I run my app, a bit smoother transition, a bit quicker transition should be seen. Yeah, it happened in a jiffy. Well, that's it for the shared preferences. Hopefully the session maintenance along with shared preferences was kind of very useful. In fact, we are not bugging our user by displaying the app intro screens again and again. Perhaps we are not holding the caller and saying watch the features of the app again and again. That would have been terrible to do. That's because your user might get annoyed and uninstall the app. Well, what goes behind creating a good user experience and have a neat design on the add task screen, we're going to discuss in detail. But for that, you need to stay tuned and keep learning with open minds.